Isn't it? I'll let you not my problems for me.
This is how it should be done.
And Madhu is one for everyone's happy. Madhu, cherishing others.
You were saying something else. You were saying Madhu.
Oh, I said, I want you not my cup for me. And you go to get cups for everyone, you're cherishing others. I cherish me.
No, it was from me too.
I can preach.
So it comes to you in a different sense.
All right. Start with the Heart Sutra. 나는 진덕이 토디 이미치탄.
Thank you.
Straight to the Arya Triple amongst the great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration of the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva master upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld us by also its empty and inherent nature. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva master Arya how should any son of the lineage strain wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that the Bodhisattva master Arya said this to the Venerable Shariputra.
Any son of the lineage or god of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should open up like this, correctly and repeatedly have aggregates also is empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness are empty.
Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, use and cease, stainless, not without stains, not deficient, not fulfilled.
Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, spirit, not form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so not to including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so not to including no aging and death, no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, cessation and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no meditation. Because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on dwelling in perfection of wisdom. the one without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error to reach the end point of Nibbana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on perfection of wisdom. Not of the perfection of wisdom. The mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, pacifies all suffering should be known as truth. This is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva. Shariputra the Bodhisattva myself in found perfection of wisdom like that. Among the words without concentration, he commanded the Bodhisattva Aya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the village, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, Sapa, Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding them tightly along with the words of God's humans and Suras and Gandharvas was overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Beginning the 3 chakras around the holy yogas and views in space, by the powers of clairvoyance and magical combinations of practitioners like and other chakras. Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva. By teaching the 3 truths, possessing by truth, making and may all negative thoughts as opposed to Dhamma be completely pacified. Also 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May be separated from problems and harmful conditions to the Dhamma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dhamma, and may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness here and right now. Sashi Bodhi Chushin Ramari Nide Sangye Chondan Soke Chonan La Chanchu Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dani Chushu Bipe Sonangi Dola Beche Sangye Dohashu Sangye Chondan Soke Chonan La Chanchu Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dani Chushu Bipe Sonangi Dola Beche Sangye Dohashu Sangye Chodan Soke Chonam La Chanchu Badi Dadi Katsu Dadi Kishin Jipet Sonangi Doha Tenche Sangye Drubarashu Kangi Tuzi Nizoni Tawa Tamje Pambi Chere Kambi Chunun Tunze Kodum Kela Chanze Good morning, everyone. All right, so we have chai somewhere here. Let's offer the chai. Cheers. Don't get wasted. Just saying.
No comment.
Yeah.
I had another one to say.
Cool.
Have you seen the message from Jason there?
Sorry?
Have you seen that message from Jason?
Yeah. Jason is recording, I think. Yeah.
Awesome.
I may not. All right, sorry. Let's see. I was doing it. I got stuck. Anyway, we have the recording, so I'll upload it later on.
Thank you, Anvichila. Very good tea. Very good tasty. Maybe this is my kind. So the
Well, enjoying the tea, whether it is delicious or not, it also has to do with one's own karma, doesn't it?
Yeah. 같이 참니다. 슬라는 장주 견제를 하는 지수라는 제가 교반남이 장주 경우라서 심전 탐제 대제비 두개 개와 장소 심전 팬번 제벌을 갈리 지수라는
So let's continue with the text, looking at where we are at the moment. We're looking at the limb of rejoicing, and we're going to pick up from the third point in rejoicing, which is rejoicing in the causes for and effects of unsurpassable enlightenment. We have 6 lines here, so I'll put them on the screen. I also rejoice in the enlightenment of the protectors and in the grounds of the conqueror's children, in the ocean of virtue that is the mind generation, which works for the happiness of all sentient beings, and in the actions benefiting sentient beings. I rejoice with pleasure.
간지 자원인지 친구는 송비기 전주sen 야스 전주sen 아니 남기를 뭐 대답한지 간지 투저 친구는 많지 아니 현대 바시 체도 투기에 진다 아니 사람 그러면 기들이야 지수이란 체 요 센입니다 지수이란 체 그송거로스.
So rejoicing, we're rejoicing in the mind of enlightenment, which has the capacity of protecting others. We rejoice in the states of the path of Bodhisattvas undertaking their training. We're rejoicing in affectionate love that is their motivation in following their progression along their grounds and paths. In all of that, we rejoice.
Drebu ngusung gesaries, ro drebu ani ta sangi gisa, ani sangi komban, sangi komban toba chibi tap, ani gasig sas laundi, gasig sas edi, pigi sanam girumba, ondo girumba la ya, ani inji chanju gisem teni chi, ani nyamsun enda, tin sa tambu niba sa drechin ya, ani sangi sa droya ge, ani lamjoras agdela ya. 사세고스 이 탐질이야다 긴지기 아니 상 온도지 좀봐 아니 여바들의 지수여라 이 투스 주반놈의 지수여라 텔레야 직근에 가수가 직 릉아 있음 김내가 강요를 떼지는 텔레야 아니 매든지 땡이 두는 지수여라 다 간지 지수여라 치사 타면지 자기여라스.
So rejoicing here in different things, like rejoicing in the enlightenment of the protectors, rejoicing in their resultant state, the Buddha ground, the Buddha state, and also in the grounds of the conqueror's children, which are the Bodhisattva Bhumi, the Bodhisattva grounds, the stages of the clear realizations as they ascend from one ground to the next, from the first ground to the second ground to the third ground and onward. So we rejoice in those stages of clear realizations, and we rejoice in them having developed those clear realizations in the mind stream, the clear realizations of the different grounds. We also rejoice in the activities of body, speech, and mind made with effort in order to progress along the different stages of the path. So in this way, we can understand how vast and extensive the rejoicing is. There are so many things to rejoice about.
아니 산지 공부를 소버티 탐제로야 아니 지수이란 친구를 있라는데 지수이란 친구야 균생 카르레스 로 남들이야 참 균생 고기였다 균생 균생이야나 아니 샘이야 아니 로데고 용거리 아니 이체 용거리 균생 매바이나 그는 칼카고도스로 균생 토마토가 아니 균생 셰메 걸어 소바 딘디 좀한다 가고요라 진짜 먼저 제수이란 최고의 견생이 그 견생이었어. 제수이란 최고의 견생이었어.
So what is the purpose of rejoicing? There needs to be a reason for rejoicing. For if we understand the reason, we will, first of all, that presentation will fit quite easily and comfortably within our mind. We will trust this presentation. Otherwise, without seeing a reason for rejoicing, this presentation will be for us irrational. So we do need to understand the reason for rejoicing.
Restara jengi tende lame zozen gi kombo toya khoni chedinza ani lame zozen gi kombo tobala ya gyugye mambu shuchi ro ani genso mambu shuchi drobala teni chungu yanza pena kache dhamme ani sum grin ya chedang kache dhamme sum grin ya choksa cheni ani thar sangi kombo togoya chi sonyoros Tinzata Manzukache Tame Sungrilaya Sosani Drogo Chona and Tutsu Shuji Gorgoras is a Tutsu T Mongolia Tapshi Yakshudi and Shengi Geolaya Jesuan Cherti and Kache Tame Sungrilaya Sosani Terdi and Jesuan Chevalpin Top 2 years and Jesuan Chibu Boris Ginzetiris.
We study here the Mahayana Dharma. We teach the Mahayana Dharma. We put it into practice, and we do that so that in order to attain the state of complete enlightenment for the sake of other sentient beings, all other sentient beings. For their sake, we're seeking the state of complete enlightenment, and there are so many causes and conditions that are required in order to attain that state. There is a great collection of virtue that is needed in order to attain the state of complete enlightenment. And it takes 3 great countless eons in order to assemble the causes and conditions required for complete enlightenment. So the time span that is required in order to attain Buddhahood is so big. It's such a long time, 3 great countless eons, and at the end, we will attain the state of Buddhahood. So, in order to not shy away or stay away from gathering the cause and conditions required for that state, we need to rejoice. We need to rejoice in virtuous actions that are created, that are assembled for the sake of complete enlightenment.
Terda kandas toguresta shengi gewala jisu yaran chewala teni and dindi so kandas zogures lamda chidam sozula yata ichi yomer resla ni ine yata nazu wodu chigodi and kabo lenge chagada ani pena randa toba nyamba jilaya ani jisu yaran same thing the kanji jisu yaran kawa ko tuina ani toba nyamba digi ani so kazu sayo ani dig so dedi ani rangya top to ya chi sungures the member ina member rang top chapter the power pena ani chi gazi chanju samba satam ni ba sachuba le ni chanju samba tu gewala ya ani jisu yaran chi tu ba na tu chu sa ja bi sonong gu chodi ani susu ge jisu yaran chi to ki ani sa tu yores tu chu tundong ji la ya dinzen jangon sung go chi bi ani tanda Beba chung lapchen so de ba gele ji su yaran chok su se de di nenga dindijil ya tu de shas ro.
So how do we then complete the collections required for attaining those states? Well, we do that through trusting the process that would follow that leads us to that state. And along the way, we also rejoice in the virtues of others. Like, for example, rejoicing in the merit or rejoicing in the virtue of those which are of similar level of development to oneself, right? That have a similar level of realization. So we rejoice in their virtue. And when we rejoice in their virtue, someone that has an equal fortune, equal realization to us, we amass or we attain a collection that is similar to their collection. Similarly, if you rejoice in the virtue of those that have a lesser realization than you or lower realization than you, then you would attain a similar level of accumulation that is similar to those practitioners. And if you rejoice, sorry? Not double. I'll ask it in a second. And if you rejoice in the virtue of bodhisattvas abiding on the ground, the first ground, second ground, up to and including the 10th ground, then you will obtain a collection that is similar to their collection. So in that sense, just as Lama Tsongkhapa said in his teachings, it is an easy activity that does not require a lot of effort. And through that, you can easily and comfortably gather the accumulation, complete the accumulation. So it is an easy thing to do, to rejoice in the virtues of others. And through that, you attain a great portion of the collection. So your question is?
It's added now.
Sorry?
My understanding was if they're lesser, it's double. If it's the bodhisattvas and so forth, it's like people more advanced, half. And if it's Buddha, going to.
Okay.
That's the situation we have. That I think is in the Bhagavad Gita, I haven't checked, but some is giving that presentation.
Okay. Dila Jesu Rasa di Kuranya Makarjan Sena Sosole member gi Gewala Jesu Ramoina and talk the double need of this. And Kawanyamba la Jesu Ramoina, ni Daran to be there. Jansa Sembe Gewa de la Jesu Ramoina, and Konzo told the Chera to be there. And Sangi Sonam la Jesu Rangway, Gewagi, Sangi Gewa la Jesu Rangwayna, and he gets a choose to get us in the chick. You want the Conyosa.
Thank you.
Then the name of Conyo.
Ah.
Then the name of Conyo.
Conyo?
Yeah, well, Geshe said thank you for that. Kind of, I asked Geshe if he has seen the presentation before, and he said that you see different presentations of different things. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
간지 아니 지수이랑 치워나 가르쳐는 더고 어렸다. 간지 더고 어렸으라. 기 아니 연디
In short, rejoicing in the virtues of others, you attain. There is an attainment that is achieved.
좀 가서다. 제 간지 지수이랑 기 아니 시템 쪽도디 아니 가와키 투고다. 신 레비차카니 제발나 가주스 가와키 투고 디 쪽이 아니 손사게 어디 우주 비트 투고다스가
In short, when you look at the very foundation of rejoicing, you develop joy. You're happy about someone else acting in a positive manner, in a virtuous manner. And we can prove using reasons that rejoicing in the positive activities of others helps you to accumulate the accumulation of merit.
아니 딱든지 인지를 그렇다 상기라야 상기기 고손도기 연결이야 아니 진수랑 제니 아니 가서다 상기의 냠비기 상기기 소놈 소의 냠비 상기기 아니 틀리의 냠비 그렇지 아니 소놈 사와이네요 디 소니드 손제체 조고인자 이식 소세요 그래서 가시 들리려고 얘기했다 나 상기의 냠비 소놈 소 상로에나 아니 상기고 근데 지금 말에 상상로지 지금 들리러지 두섬 시기 길스 이내야 그 가리지 저는 저것도 상당히 되어야 돼서
There are things that we still need to think about in relation to gathering the collection through rejoicing in the qualities of body, speech, and mind of Buddha. So if it is said that through rejoicing in the good qualities of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, you gather the collection which are equal to Buddha, then which collections are we talking about? In order to attain the state of Buddhahood, you need the two collections, the accumulation of merit and the accumulation of exalted wisdom. So in rejoicing in the virtues of others, which accumulations, which collections are affected. So you start thinking of those points as you delve into the topic of rejoicing. And we need to think about those issues.
country nimshewdi control kesagu yugchani ani digba chechung tawya sheyaros ra dena control kesagu yul mawajilaya rani topa mawajilaya ani control sebaina ani ketsamgi ani digba chemu sagmares randa nyambaji na ani digba tinjisa rani topa tawajilaya ani control kewaina ani digba dene pe kaw mambugi and it jump drive, they were substance sagres lavas. There's a D Gawa that they were singing the Dosho in the Drogoras. There's a Jang Tobo Tojilaya, and it Gawa Gomaina, and it so Savina, and so love chill Zoviova. And the dig that could not reveal the Dando.
So how would you then approach it through reasons and logic? For example, when we consider anger, we say that through anger you accrue grave negativities, but still you need to look at how anger is negative from different perspectives. Like, for example, relative to the object of anger, what is the degree of negativity that you accrue? So if you, for example, become angry at someone that is lower than you, then how would I say that? If you become angry at someone that is lower than you, then the degree of negativity that is involved with that is just about that. It is, let's say, it's not great. If you become angry with someone that is equal to you, anger is negative also in a similar proportion. If you become angry with someone that is greater than you, higher than you, it is said that the amount of roots of virtue that is being destroyed through that anger equals to virtue that has been accumulated over a great number of eons, which means that anger towards someone that is greater than you is very negative. So that being the case, then Geshe is looking at the opposite case of performing a virtuous action in relation to those objects. So if you create a virtuous action towards someone, towards a particular object that is greater than you, then it is logical to say that you would accrue a greater accumulation of merit.
제 간지 손음 비게 아니 가리 사바 텔이야 지수를 공이 디 손음디 안지 소소야 아니 토바지 와 어디지 인구여서 왔어 간지.
In short, the point that Geshe is making here is that if you rejoice in the virtue of someone, then corresponding to who that person is, you need to obtain a certain degree of merit.
아니 장이야 남도 네트워크 아니 라마 기위신이데 대비 이쪽이나 아니 콘조스기 진압디 콘조스기 진압디 소소 주그레스라 소소 토그레스라 라 아니 라마 기위신이 진압디 소소 샘 토그레스라.
For example, it is said that we have the three objects of refuge, the three jewels. Then we have the spiritual friends that teach us what we need to take up and what we need to cast aside. Having faith in them facilitates the receiving of their blessings, right? So through having faith in the three objects of refuge, through having faith in the spiritual friends, the spiritual teachers, you receive their blessings.
이제 상기래야 아니 도드메비 대바 주민이 대바 능아 있음 간지 르당 고준이야 르당 투약이 대바지요나 산지기 진업 창상지 샘을 주거디 예상 도바저이니요 말이스.
So therefore, having irreversible faith in the Buddha, unfabricated faith, the one in which you will not give them up, not turn your back on them, the three objects of refuge, would be the key for obtaining their blessings.
아니 소소 대발을 바비 아니 진압디 주신기 아니 제수이란 지야디야 아니 디나지 가투스 제수이란 제투 디 저기 아니 소문디 아니 소소야 토비야치 디 용고르스다 디 체로디 네게 아니 직세 비교에 야차다 고친 디디 이 슈투 마소마다 간지 아니 랍친지 토고야바디 아 리빌 줍 투야도치 만딘도 통도스라.
So then similarly, looking at rejoicing, if you rejoice in the qualities or the virtues of those objects, you will accrue a similar degree of merit. Now, trying to quantify that merit and trying to think about it in actual numbers, Geshe is not sure that you can speak about it in terms of how much you will be obtaining, but it is likely that it's going to be very powerful, very effective.
그래서 딘자 가서 난다 저도 지원이 참정이야. 아니 지 아니 lama chik sonso gishi chik sonso se dus su jion digu pi ya chen de men chu ni ma do ma zedal ya an kashi gishi tse de so gishi gishi gi sul longa ne mind lama ro chis ngi ma la yin sero mind la na da chik soso pi chitang nga zu gi sinyi gi shong la jamba yong ji gi an soso so gi de su xian wen gi ga pi number do tung ma res yang di missing is susu deba di xiao ji gagbi numbers ji le gagba ji numbers le pon yago me dos.
As Geshe said before, when we encounter different teachings, that you put forward a certain position, and you say that the position is like that because this Lama has said so, or this Geshe said so. We had previous Geshes that taught here at Chimrezik Institute, and Geshe has had it a few times before. It is like that because this Geshe has said this or that. Well, actually, when you follow the philosophical system, the system of debate or tsenyi, rather than saying that it is like that because this person had said so, you look at the scripture itself, the philosophical texts, or the system of debating. And you're trying to follow that logic rather than the logic of it is like that because someone else has said that. So Geshe has been encouraging us to think along this way rather than kind of mentioning this person or that person. Look at what reasons and logic you can use in the philosophical system of debate.
Narang kang kobat ni kazu ni semi niba de yamada kang choba chetu narang choba chetu di injing shego ras ta dine mato ya de ni niman lagi ani sanchomben di songa ya tu sa no inde ni ani jagar pendu ku songa tu sa no yacha ya tang ni ni lama chunga be songa tu sa inde imena ni chi susu ta chin di ta ani Dishin Kiamni, Yawrum Chisore, Ning Suzu Zelamata, Game Chile, the Lam Sorum, Lamatu Son Tuchin, Drogius, Ning Tanshu di Sosu Kang Koba Ding the Chikondos, Lavia di that Kaba Legado Shalbasra.
In covering those points, Geshe is trying to draw upon his understanding. And although he hasn't generated realizations using valid cognition of quite a few of those points, still he can appreciate some of them from the studies that he have done, in trying to hold a position that can be suspect to the teachings of the Buddha, or at least to the Indian Pandits, or to the great master Lama Tsongkhapa, or at least to those masters that we encounter in this life, like, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's Geshe's root teacher, or Kyabje Lama Sopa Rinpoche, and so forth. So this is how we attempt to develop our views or understanding. We try to make sure that they're in line with the positions or the teachings that come from those sources.
Jisuran Chingo, kitchen Manzuka, kitchen bush, Yimbadi, Chanju Simbigi, Salaya, letting Kyo Tamasuna, and Shana Jisuran, the kitchen, kitchen, Shana Jisuran Chetuana, Gobajlea, Tuzu Jimanolia, and so Labochi Sajin, Sanji Salaya, go to it, but Dinji Kokobchi, Yungiosarosra.
Rejoicing is so important. This is one of the points that we can draw from this section, how important rejoicing is. Great beings, holy beings that have reached the Bodhisattva bhumis, the Bodhisattva grounds, have seen it so important to rejoice in the virtues of others because it's a way of progressing quicker and swifter to the ground of Buddha.
Rang member, rang the Nyamba, and it's on the top of Toya said, La Soba. The two deep in a Dachi and the round top of Toa, 아니 chanju sembala soba sanning sembala soba di 아니 고송투 그 연대라야 샘띵 지수에 랑용야 기게 디 아니 닌지다 chanju 샘 아니 돈이도 비시가 소바 디디기 다지 아니 연된 내 통고야디 우유 차고서레스로 디기들에 냠내야 세와나 두sol야 냠내 타치마 용이 끼어다마 통인데 아니 샘띵이 돼 아니 가서치면 끼야지 용구여서라스로.
So we rejoice in the realizations of those lower to us equal or those that are higher than us in terms of the realization. We rejoice in the qualities of Buddhas, of Bodhisattvas abiding on the grounds. We rejoice in the qualities of body, speech, and mind. We rejoice in their loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, realizing emptiness, because we see how these are all positive. These are all good qualities. So when we recognize the positivity of all these levels of realizations from the bottom of our heart, we rejoice in them.
The champagne song this manner, Shella Gaucom said, Shingi leg chalaya, any level tone to ya, any Gaucom to ya, so the champagne song which good us, the intimate good us.
And to rejoice in the virtue of others, you also need to have a certain degree of altruism, of the benefit to be of, for the wish to be of benefit to others. Because if your wish to be of benefit to others, altruism is weak, you'll find it difficult to recognize the positivities in others, to rejoice in their good qualities. It does require a certain level of intention to be of benefit to others. If you've developed that, then you can genuinely rejoice in the good deeds of others, in the virtues of others.
That champagne song yabu yongya that namju that matubaina, and that Rangi champagne song mato, and Ran le tani, Shen Cheban Zinsedi, Kabushuros, and that dinza that namju cargos like Chitang around the Shen Sedi, Nyamba imbati, Umuya Nitsupilia, and Nyamba imbati, Tonto Gogas, and D. Montonachi, Chardang Tony, and Ran the Shenki, and Chong Samba Shuchambus, Jing Devaina, and Ran the Shen Yamba Ton Sedi, Kabushuris, Ran the Shen Yamba Montana, and Shen Layachi, and Zewadang Shenlaya Gaugum said, yeah, they don't have made you read us, right?
And in order to develop the intention to be of benefit to others, you need to use some degree of wisdom to fully utilize the power of your own intelligence. Without that, you will still be subject to an attitude which seeks your own victory at the expense of others. You will seek your own victory and the defeat of others. So we certainly need to develop wisdom. We need to use the wisdom in order to see the equality between ourselves and others. And without seeing the equality between ourselves and others, anger and attachment will still operate, which will bring about a sense of partiality in our interactions with others. So that will happen so long as we do not see the equality between ourselves and others. Whereas when you come to see, to recognize the equality between oneself and others, which means that you're being impartial, then you have a good basis for the development of good qualities. So long as you do not see sentient beings as equal, you'll not develop an adequate sense of loving concern for others. You'll not develop joy in their good virtues.
디송거라스라.
It says in verse 4, in the ocean of virtue, that is the mind generation, which works for the happiness of all sentient beings. So this and also the next line says, and in the actions benefiting sentient beings. So for that, you need compassion and the mind of enlightenment. For benefiting, you need compassion in the mind of enlightenment for actions that benefit other sentient beings, and for generating joy in those actions that benefit others.
제 그래서 저는 로신 교반난 조비 창조된 야세는 산주라 예라는 세다기 교 선전당제 대원지 최고 창조적 투기비 개와 창조선 양조다와 저를 선전의 편본들이 줘봐라 이 대화도 총딩기 당이 대박 공식 가위 지수라는
Let's look at a commentary to these 6 lines. I also rejoice in the complete enlightenment of the protectors of my greaters and in the 10 grounds of the conqueror's children. I also rejoice with joy in the cause of this, the ocean of virtue that is the mind generation for complete enlightenment, which works for the happiness of all sentient beings and also in the actions that benefit sentient beings. On all of these, I meditate with clear faith that is combined with mental happiness and rejoice with pleasure.
니버 추기 콜고 고세 또 아니 상기 장선 아니 라마 게위신이야 추송로치스 야슈와 표고거레스 된다디다 이 된다 쪼디 대한 가르스나 아니 추기 채워되면 조 추기 채워되면 지리 니니 도자소수문이 아니 대바당 아니 지 최인데 그 상물을 써봐 고야디 아니 내가 직접으로 dim지가 되니 아니 야최 아니 소로치 마시바 아니 마체마야기 아니 상길이야 남부디어 말했으라.
Let's look at the second part of the preparation. So we have verse 5 that covers the requesting the teacher to turn the wheel of Dharma. So in requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma, Geshe says that we're making those requests to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, to the Lamas, to spiritual friends or virtuous friends. We make requests to them to teach the Dharma. So that's one point. The second point is that the request is made to teach Dharma for sentient beings that have a particular inclination. They have desire to receive teachings. They have faith in those teachings. They have certain inclination or dispositions. And without making a request to teach them the Dharma, a Buddha will not teach.
예, 아니 나도 단다 잔주선비가 랍샤 송비게 대밤에라 담주 때만 딘딩말 송으라 대밤에바야 추 때만 딘딩말스 딘자 수주 대벽권을 추 송로치 추고야니 백희지 못하고 그랬어 이만도 임바나เป็น타사리 별이 인터벌이야 간지 아니 라마디자니 추 년발라 년래야 아니 그냥 주인이었어요. 저기스 저 초치스라지 년래야 아니 쇼표 조기요바 얘는 나란도 있는 조유 니 딘디 미마무 조기요바 통용이었어. 딘디 체진 간지 아니 소왔담 아니 주인인 거야디 아니 주 년바다 주 시비 아직 제 땅은 로당 엄마들 데레스라.
The thing that is demonstrated in this section is not being allowed to teach without being requested to teach. So you make such requests to be taught the Dhamma because you have faith. And with faith, you're saying, please teach me, please give me teaching. A time of old in Tibet, also in monasteries of the monasteries that were established in India later on, in the great monasteries, there was this tradition of requesting a teacher to teach before attending classes. Or, if you want to receive teaching from the teacher, first of all, you would approach them and ask them if it's possible, if it is allowed for you to come and receive teachings from them. And only once such requests were made, a teacher would teach. Without making such requests, it was not suitable to listen to teachings, also to give teachings. This is how it used to be done. So this is how things used to be done in the monastery. Like, for example, in the system that Geshe comes from, the monastic system, you would first of all approach a teacher and make requests to be taught by that teacher. Please teach me. So you would approach them, first of all, make 3 prostrations, offer a kata, and then you would make that request to a lama. So when listening to teachings, receiving teachings, or when giving teachings, you always had to follow that tradition of, first of all, making a request. So you have your own Dharma friends, and you speak about teachers, good teachers, you receive recommendations of different teachers, and then you might decide to approach a certain teacher and ask them to teach you. So you do it in this way, right? So you decide which teacher you want to approach. You approach them, you make prostrations, you request them to teach you. And it's not that they will definitely commit to teach you. Some of them might say that there's someone that is suitable for you, that is better than me, then you can approach that person. So it's not that they would necessarily commit to teaching you. Some of them do agree to teach you. Anyway, this all indicates how when the Buddha Dhamma is taught, it should be done in agreement with the Dhamma, which means that, first of all, a request should be made, and the Dhamma should not be taught without a request being made.
lecture 소리 들으면도 아니 최니식 들어야 아니 드럼으로 세디 만 상황을 찍찍이야 대바다 담식 이 근데 최생이 중문이 공공 가르쳐 왔으나 원행 알아야 찍 타치기 이시지 대바칭이야 니 최식이 요선비 아니 공공 디키기 열었어 아니 디 원이 영에 들어야 아니 최고 이 최고 진단이 주고를 아니 그 lecture 수들랭에 들래 lecture 수들에 맞도 아니 최님 비틀어야 장무실은 로그 말했어.
And the thing also is illustrated by the life story of the great Tibetan yogi Milarepa, who has attained a state of enlightenment in one lifetime based on one body. So in the life story of Milarepa, we can see those accounts in which he approaches spiritual teacher again and again and implore them to give him teachings. So similarly, when we then receive teachings from a teacher, we do that with a sense of faith and also the samaya bonds that we have with that teacher. So from the point of view of the teacher, then if someone has made a request to be taught the Dhamma, then they need to think that I'm doing that for the sake of someone who has faith. And through faith, the blessings will be engaged. Without that, the situation for teaching the Dhamma is not really appropriate.
어디 단지도 단지 아니 추 소로치시 추기 콜로치시 아니 소담 고야기 nen가디 델 차고레스 델 투고레스.
So here we're looking at a request that is made for turning the wheel of Dhamma. This is the reason for making such request for teaching the Dhamma.
장안 추니니 추 진럽 주고 왔다. 추니니 추 진럽도 주고 온다. 추 진럽디 대비기 시마체바 자원이니 죽무스 버렸어. 이추 거란기 내루 직차고디 주야요 말았어. 진짜 대박 부위연자 아니 계란 소다 거래세 들었다. 대비 쪼바이나 아니 대비 돈 녀바이나 답변나 아니 간수치 아니 장남기네 간지 가리 돈 녀바이나야. 아니 무스피기네 제마도나다 아니 연구여버디 여러분치다 이제 송사지 다가랑 주고 그랬어. 이것도 뭐좀 된 디샤 주고 갑이네야. 현수치 아니 남한테 한번 마투네야. 배나 아니 이게 꿀치 아니 다트온디 아니 너무 토야서 좀 된 도와 거나 요랬어.
So then, in order to listen to the Dhamma, first of all, we need to make such requests, and through that, we need to listen to the Dhamma with a sense, with faith, in order to receive the blessings. For without faith, we will not receive the blessings of the Dhamma. So this is what we certainly need to do to generate faith. We need to have faith, and through having faith, when you get the teachings, you can receive them in a variety of ways. So even if you're not directly in the presence of teachers like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, then you can listen to recordings or videos and so forth. Also, at the time of the Buddha, there are certain accounts of those that weren't able to meet the Buddha in person, but teachings, including vows, were transmitted to them in letters.
딜다비 존놈군기 산길라 태문자비 소와니 심질 동문도가 주기 좀 해봐 소세 딜다 또 대방도비.
So there are supplications that are made here in verse 5. To the Buddhas of all directions, I request with my palm folded. Please light the lamp of Dhamma for sentient beings confused in the darkness of suffering.
산길에 림보만으로 최무송 주기 초놈 군기 산길에 쫄놈 태문자비 군비 소원 대번에 그거 순제 동아시지 마리비 문부터가 나 탈외랑 싸울 집에 문도기 주기 좀에 벨도 소를 찍고
The respectful request with palms folded to the Buddhas of all directions that became enlightened recently and who have not started to teach the Dhamma yet. Please light the lamp of scriptural and realized Dhamma that clarifies the path to liberation for the purpose of sentient beings who suffer, who are confused in the darkness of ignorance.
그랬더니 일단 양념을 넣는다고 쏘았다고 했어요. 아니 산지 양념을 넣는다고 쏘았다고 했지. 아니 라마 양념을 넣는다고 쏘았다고 했어야지. 그냥 간지 소소라야 최등인기 아니 이 고구연하다 아니 슈로시슬라야 쏘았다고 들어왔을 때 순고에서.
And next is a request not to pass into parinirvana. Let's look at the outline. So we have in verse 6 requesting him not to pass into nirvana, which basically a request to continue to stay with us.
Re Javanyang Desela, Temoja de Soani, John de Togo, Language, and Kawatami Shubasos.
Requesting with palms folded, the conquerors wishing to pass beyond sorrow, to not place these migrators in blindness and remain for uncountable eons.
Tandin Javanamolaya, Javanyang in Deva Shepala, Yangin in Deva, Sheba, Yangin in Deva, Majuba, Tapiwi, Gongi Delayachi, and so they were Songo Asra, in a Lama Kashi, and it Javan and Java Lama and Yangin in Deva, and Gomba Mashi Kuni, and so Tagores. Lama Yangin Deva Kumba Shitsa, Jelia so Tavana, Chitado or a city, Kinji Lama commenting so dusra.
The commentary says, the request with folded palms to the conquerors who wish to go beyond sorrow. A request is made to those who wish to go beyond sorrow. Some lamas say that the request should be made before they start to pass beyond sorrow, before they do that. If you make a request when they already wish to pass beyond sorrow, this is too late.
In a song, the Javan Yang Deva Jebel, the Temoju Soul, Jovan de la Marie, Lodriki, Mi Domba, Munguchi, De, Marie Mumbasevich, the Kawatanova, Super Solo.
The request with folded palms to the conquerors who wish to go beyond sorrow. Please do not cause the wisdom eye of these migrators to be blinded by ignorance. Rather, please remain for uncountable eons to illuminate the darkness of ignorance.
Kashiba Givam Hova said, Givam Hova she, Chil Hovatan, Nebi Tundum Hovatan, Jacob Sevitundum Hovatan, Dogun Jumi Gun Hovos, Tambo Chil Hovanis, the dark Kunchiti, Gavadaki Savaka, and Sunja Tamjigi, Dungatamja Sav shows.
Next is the dedication of virtue. So within the dedication of virtue, we have a few points. We have general dedication, dedication for the sick, dedication to alleviate hunger and thirst, and dedication for the fulfillment of all wishes. Let's begin with the general dedication, which reads, having thus done all of this, whatever virtue I have accumulated, may through it all sufferings of all sentient beings be cleared away.
The children who was said, children who was said, children who are the and Zari subject Gao or Diganama, Chugani, Chadan Dinila, Cavates, Yugirisra, Pena, and Hoa ina, and Gao Hoa was Lana, Fisher love chokers. Gao was lovely, Kanji, and gets a kind of Angela, Michin, D and Zela Sharton, and Penam Gayadi, and Gao Hoa Doveris. Gao Hoa Doveris.
So just looking at the outline, the first point is general dedication. Geshe reckons that you can say that there is a difference between dedication and dedication of virtue. In that if it's dedication, it's not necessarily a dedication of virtue. In that with a dedication of virtue, the substance that you're dedicating is what you focus on. You focus on virtue. That is the substance that you use for dedication.
Chidam Mulam Gajara, Sanjatam Deva Demo shows Lavana, and Mulam Zamre Moto, Mochagio Maris. Then Suzuki, Luma Yisum, gives our council of Teledeni, and Sanjatam Deva Demo shows Lavana, and then Boatam Muliga Chagoras rock.
You probably know these points. If it's dedication, it's necessarily also aspiration. But if it's aspiration, it's not necessarily dedication. In that, for dedicating something, you need to have a substance that you dedicate for a particular purpose. So we make certain aspirations, such as, for example, may all sentient beings be happy. So if you just make this general aspiration, may all sentient beings be happy, it is an aspiration, but it's not a dedication. Whereas when you think through the roots of virtues that I have created, or through the roots of virtues created by myself and others and so forth, may all sentient beings be happy, it is both a dedication and an aspiration.
Then, Chitang Moazam said, Geva Mayimbi, Geva Moa Mayimbi, Moach, then Jichixetaro. In the Dichitan Nemo Yonsade, and Nevi Tunduva, Jacom Sevitungo, Dogu Joytun was long. Those someone log Zela in Jiminjiki, and it Gevaji Guayamara, Sosu, Yuluncha, someone log any Zela Shachin, Manon Javana, Moachado was rock.
So just looking at the outline that we have here, dedicating in general, dedicating for the sake of the ill, dedicating in order to alleviate the hunger and thirst, and dedicating so that virtue acts as the cause for all that one wishes. It doesn't indicate here that a substance is used, right? So if you then using a particular substance, you're dedicating your own body, possessions, and roots of virtue, that becomes both a dedication and aspiration.
The Geva said, Chidangi, Yamshia to the Geva said, Big kitchen boys. As an Nandutaji, Penanganda, Chisemlia, Chadamo, Kumuta, Chudianza, and it Chikadus Jilia, and it Kundri Shaman, Chunju Vati. Charmatoinza, any country shaman church vigila, Karki gave it to any jump of young jump drive, Yagachimuenza, they are Zosang, more to Vaina, any country jump to Maris, Sora, Tinza, any Susu Gavati, and some Magi Bardu, any Gavati, Peju Yoyak Chedu, and Zosang Mokoyati, Kichichavaris.
It is so important to dedicate, particularly when us still being under the control of anger, attachment, and ignorance. There is a danger that anger arising and destroying roots of virtue. So we need to safeguard our roots of virtue so that anger will not be able to destroy them until we reach the state of enlightenment. And therefore, this process of dedication that ensures that is very important.
The Choban is on the so and the that Kunchi, the Gava that Chisaba, and Sunjan Tamji, the word Tamji Seva show, Jevo, Church Gava said.
The commentary says, in relation to the general dedication in verse 7, through whatever virtue I have accumulated by having acted in this way, from making offerings up to making requests, may all sufferings of sentient beings be cleared away.
Even Nebi turned to Hoanis, Drova never chisel to Nesungi Department, and the Mindata, they never Cheva shows.
Next, dedicating for the sick. Until all migrators who are sick are cured from their disease, may I be their medicine, physician, and their nurse.
Rangi Lunga Yusumki, energy gets a Kang Sa Shaba, Sa Shimba, Sa Vargui, Gava Kang Yoga, Tea to la Demi, and the 소소랑이다고 아니 저와 내가 지식 여바 대식도 아니 저와 내가 아니 내기 마스 파트 아니 맹고요는 맹교쇼 멤버고요는 멤버교쇼 네오고요는 네오교쇼 삼비기 아니 뭐는 야이트레도 아스라.
The aspiration that we make in this section is for the sake of the sick. Through the power of these merits, which means the merits or the virtue that I have created with my body, speech, and mind, that I have created, that I'm creating at the present, that I will create in the future. Through all that virtue, may I be the medicine for the ill. May I be the physician and the nurse for the sick migrators until they're cured from their disease.
That dimji pay that you young cheche and it so the same thing and it for the gaps of jelly one chick and it never young tap and dimji la yachi and it nail cheery, robot cheery, and it cocoa down never yeshendo and it non so down non metan drawing up. In the and changes in the sun choji said that you will do and it monam yadi zumak so the chagirasra in the Sazuchi Gasra.
If you're a genuine practitioner of these teachings that are given here in Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, and you make such heartfelt dedication for the sake of the ill, if later on you come across someone that is sick and you have the ability, the possibility of being a nurse, helping them out, if you don't use the opportunity to do that and you disregard that person, you dismiss them, you look down on that person, having made that dedication in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then that is really poor. That is really not living up to the commitments that you've made in the presence of such Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
And Toria, everything Tsultrim number Tavata, Punam Tumami, some Jago Sage, Zioras, that Kanji and Nanzugi, Malam Kardiagos landing, Naji, Mintunit, and it then there's a cover change layer, Kitchen, and Tawa the Tanjin can be Lam Jotuachi. Jutuaji, one shows Malam Jagoras. 먼저 뒷문을 잡지 단단 강조 아니 원의 직 덴디텐스 캐버진지 톱 아니 소술능아 이익성이 아니 네버 줌치는 타워의 탐지 힘을 남내 슈바는 슈투비 깔들이야 때 남의 당시 아니 차월로가 지친 데데바이나 아니 문음디 이게 제부 마트를 소리치기 초라서를 차기다스 이난시를 차고서라.
Similarly, we say that in order to attain a good rebirth in a pleasant state of existence as a human being or as a god, you need to have the three causes. First of all, at the very basis, you need to have made strenuous aspirational prayers. At the basis, you need to have gathered pure ethical discipline. Then you need to have supplemented it with the practice of the six perfections, such as generosity. And at the end, to link it up with making stainless aspirations. So this stainless aspirations bit is making aspirations such as, for example, for attaining, again, a high status rebirth as a human being or as a god, particularly in a state that will enable you to proceed along the path that leads to the state of liberation or the state of enlightenment. Those are the aspirations that are being made at the end. So looking at our situation at the present, we have attained a pleasant rebirth, a happy rebirth. And we engage the path, we enter the path that leads to the state of liberation or the state of omniscience. So at least we have the ability to do that. So if we do not enter that path, if we do not engage that path and we engage something different, then we are wasting whatever prayers, whatever aspirations we have made before.
Sambananda ki any Sambananda ki Pento Kuni Lanchi, Penata, Neo Chinju Chumaina, and Kanji Suzuki Upeos. Sambananda ki Tebi Kuni Lani, Penat, Suzuki, Zavilama, Shabshete, Penangal Tanyaman this year's draw, Ningaran Genki, and Shabshin Losum House Giria, Big Tanking Yin Celia, and Lu Kaliga or the Sembachu Bay, and the Savagely and Mizanalia, and I have shoot Drew Soul Sami, and a Gaugon dos. And it G Penatati, Nani, Aniti, Davani Rilaya, Moranga, one Tani Tebayenza, Gava Shuyenza. Nidawani Rilaya, Shoja, the new color says that Tamushana. And cheese Kanji Digi, Susu Samba Gushudas, and it's same thing. Yawood share Chonson Sami, Susu Samba Giudas, Kanjing Samba Giu was raw.
So if you do it with a genuine intention, with pure intention, and you find an opportunity to help someone out, to nurse them when they're sick, having made such genuine aspirations before, your mind becomes happy. If your aspiration is really genuine to be of benefit to others in this way, and you do come across that opportunity to act upon that, and you do that, it makes your mind happy. So Geshe remembers that he was attending nursing his Root Lama for 3 years before he passed away, which it was quite a tiring job for day and night over 3 years. And his mind was so happy after that. After his teacher passed away, he thought that he really did something that is meaningful in his life. He has attained great meaning. And also last year, leading up to the passing away of Jonsel, Geshe was able to help out for a couple of months. And he did that in knowing that she had great faith in Geshe and she really liked Geshe. So Geshe was kind of helping her out on a daily basis, preparing tea for her, sometimes preparing food for her. And knowing that she had faith in Geshe and with a genuine intention to be of help to her, his mind was happy. So our mind needs to be made happy, right? We need to find joy, happiness in whatever we do. So if you do find those opportunities to act in a way that accords with your intention, it will make your mind happy. Again. Oh. It has been 6 years since Geshe's teacher passed away. Actually, we're coming to it's the end of June. It's actually 1st of July, so it's around the time that Geshe's teacher passed away 6 years ago. And Geshe is still keeping his teacher in his prayers and is thinking about him quite a lot. And he also sees his teacher in his dreams. So it doesn't happen daily, but still at least once a month. Still sees his teacher in his dreams, and it also gives rise to a sense of joy. There's no particular need to mention it here, but since we are in that situation where we're being close to each other, right? Being close or familiar with each other, then Geshe thought of sometimes mentioning this points. So we read through verse 8, which dedicates for the sake of the ill. Let's look at the commentary to verse 8. Through the power of these merits, may I be the medicine, physician, and the nurse for the sick migrators until they're cured from their disease.
Kazing Dundatele, a game Malam Stansra, and game Chusson Resha, and again Chitangan Shum, the Chit Tombu shoes to the Duxia Chion, Yala Mayanga Dutch. In this like game shoes that says, near somebody again Shabjat Mashuan, King Shabby shall do your mother. Give you someone is some Dutch. Did that German and the
Since Geshe mentioned Santon's having dreams about his teacher, he says that no, it's not that those dreams are necessarily significant to the point where he needs to tell you about those dreams, but just kind of one anecdote. So the other day he was dreaming about his teacher, and his teacher was about to give Dhamma teachings, and the throne was just too high for his teacher to ascend. And Geshe was looking at that and said that even if he kind of supported his teacher in trying to ascend up to the throne, it will not reach the throne. So he said that actually that's, in the great scheme of things, it's not a bad thing not being able to sit on the throne, because if you sit on the throne, you need to sit cross-legged, and Geshe's teacher's knees were not in a good shape. So he thought that actually it's better for him not to sit on the throne so that he wouldn't sit cross-legged.
That's somebody comes
Yeah. So we might leave the text here for now. Alan is asking, could Geshe please give the relationship between accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom in terms of number of possibilities, and give examples of each possibility? Dila sonam gitsok ta yeshi gitsok dini la mokatsi la sta morela den de pechi shatwainas.
Jada mood the candle shagan and Chitangi cousin Mamushu says that he thought Sonum would so slam, Sonum would so Sugi large George, Sanji Kulia, Suguchugun Yugan, Sugu large Georges like that, Sugu you so telea, the Zugu yelling Gutavalaya, Sonum Sosla Warres, and it Chuku yelling Gutalea, and it Yishik Sosla Warres. In Guteres,
well, working out possibilities for that, Geshe needs to think about it. But as is said previously, when we think of the accumulation of merit is the main thing that is forming those prints for attaining the Rupakaya, which means that it is the main cause for the Buddha's Rupakaya, whereas the accumulation of exalted wisdom is the main thing for placing those traces for attaining the Dhammakaya, the Dhamma body of Buddha.
Pena Nagi Yamne, any Tongu Leg Katula, and the Tabshi Nidi, and logic in Monaya, and Dutriach, Yon Triach, Yunguyores,
So thinking about it from the viewpoint of a high-level tantric practice, from the point of view of high-level practice of Tantra, method and wisdom are combined as one entity in one mind, right?
The D two, the D tone, Sanji Druguyanza, D, and Nigayamba Shana Chogomedos.
Since through these two, one proceeds to attaining the state of Buddha, Geshe reckons that you can posit that as a possibility for both. Now, giving a possibility or example for something that is neither, Geshe says, for example, he himself.
How could they when the Yishi saw in the Sonum saw my but the Dolong Kalia, and Tony Tobi Yishita with Shas. And it Sonum saw in the Yishi saw my body, and the tap Pigita chick, and Tsultrim Sonya Soba. Or this is Shaslama. In Kalam Taxanjas Kia Maras.
Then the Kosum Mamikpe Tsultrim the Misuaina. The Niga then the Chagra.
Doi Kalpesh Shaga Samasa. Kosum Mami Batavi, Lodi, Yishik Sores. The Yishik Sorema, the Tsultrim Romara.
Then we still have two possibilities left. So a possibility of something being the accumulation of exalted wisdom and not merit would be wisdom realizing selflessness according to the sutra system. Now something that is like the accumulation of merit and not the accumulation of exalted wisdom would be, for example, guarding pure ethical discipline. So I said, Geshe, what about guarding pure ethical discipline through observing the emptiness of the three spheres? Would you say that that's a combination of both? Well, Geshe said, not really. It would still make a distinction in that which observes the emptiness of the three spheres is classified within the accumulation of exalted wisdom, whereas ethics itself still belongs to the accumulation of merit.
No, I mean, that was a question that I was thinking, so I'm so glad that Alan brought. And so I've been thinking, and I think rejoicing fits into the accumulation of wisdom because in order to rejoice, it's dependent on you, it's dependent on somebody else, and it's dependent on the action of rejoicing. So as you said, the three spheres, if you are accumulating wisdom. And if you are rejoicing in with that attitude of wanting to benefit all sentient things, the way of aspiration, rejoicing in that aspiration, then you are also accumulating the compassion, that thing as well. So I think if you're really skillful, when you are rejoicing, you can be accumulating both method and wisdom. Yeah, method and wisdom.
The Quran tabla keba muneina ane Geshe rawaina so nila do chogres na ngoa gyabe kapsulayan di shenla tungyure ran shenla tungyure gewa di shenla tungyure di tola samatawaina gewa di yeshigi chola jogres ane shenpengi tone shenla ngoa gewaina ninje sosola ninje kya ni sonam chola jogres cheza nigala do chogres
Tapash Kyan Samsuros, Yaburos,
no
you pa Chewachi, Tangan Gewala Jis Ranchi Sadi, you Gewala pa Shuju Chewondi, and when the sheriff each other, Tabichatu, Susu Yoros, Ra, the sheriff Chalaya Iranchina, and Yishi saw Dogre, Tabichalaya Iranchina, the Dogres, or do spy, the suggestion the Cheyoros, the Kalchian Cheyoros, Ra, Kanji Tartu Wombi, and a Pina Lame Shunaya Demondi, and Tabshi Lochik Tolia, Dotuaji, Yashikadam Yores, Krisna, Lonesome Nibuti, and Monchik Tolia, then Jodanchi Kanji, the Ingueras.
It's good to think about it and you express a certain position. It's good to also think about it and get or try to develop our own positions. Geshe said that when you look at the object of dedication, so kind of you're looking at certain object, what you focus on, what you observe in your dedication. And then you can look at it from different perspectives. You can look at it from the perspective of method, or you can look at it from the perspective of wisdom. And in relation to those different things that you pull out with respect to your object of observation, it can contribute to the accumulation of merit or the accumulation of wisdom. So that depends upon how skilled you are, how skilled you are in your dedication. So in mentioning the previous point with relation to the high level of Tantra practice, you can develop one mind that has method and wisdom combined as a single entity, which then will contribute to those the two accumulations. That is based upon the presentation of wind and mind.
인다 밍 비기려야 참체서 지고라스 디 조디 칼라 시샤고스다니 이시 초부 변카르레 소는 초부 된다 카르레스 딩이게 된다 딩모스미 토는티니 아니 카르나만 누군 이요메디 다 아니 제가 제대로 찾아왔어 모두 이시 초다 소는 초딩 디메지 톤 아니 참아 레스 라자완 흔들려지라스라.
So in order to come down in a certain position, trying to really separate out what is the accumulation of wisdom, what is the accumulation of exalted knowledge, you need to, first of all, form your understanding of what they are exactly, right? What is the accumulation of merit? What is the accumulation of wisdom? When you develop an understanding of what they are, then you can decide which factor contributes to that, to the accumulation of merit, and which will contribute to the accumulation of exalted wisdom. Without being clear about them, will be quite vague in attributing, or will be quite, ability to attribute certain activities to those collections will be vague, will be unclear. So thank you. Let's do the dedication prayers. Kowe shinkanti, rendande wa malu jomene, chinre siwan tenzin gatso, shabre siti wa du tengu, sonjur jupela, sheche sonje kantin tengu, chana pemo tenzin gatso, sowa depso shendu rudu, chamchin jangun yawe, Shosun kowe le montu ata sotu kondu shabde. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Katsun. So much.
Hey, Evers. Marianne.
Hi.
Okay. So are we doing the...
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we need to do? We need to probably take the screen off. So just a second. Bye-bye, everyone.